Welcome to the Old Man of the Three with JJ Redick and Tommy Alter. This is episode 150. Damian Lillard. Tommy, we had Dame on for the very first episode of the Old Man of the Three back in August of 2020. Not much has changed then, apparently. I'm still forgetting my SD card for my personal Tascam recorder, so I apologize for this audio to start the podcast. I'm also recording from a hotel room, which is very much the same.
I feel like we still have the exact same Zoom shenanigans. Like nothing has gotten better. Nothing has improved. We did a big great deal with Amazon. We did all these things. We hired Kylie, who has fixed every other part of our company, and we still have the same Zoom problems. It is weird though. It's weird we've done 150.
I'm traveling this week. I've got Phoenix, Golden State tonight on Monday. So I'm in San Francisco right now, and then I'm going to Los Angeles to call the Golden State Clippers game. So sometimes we don't get to record from our studio, and sometimes I'm an idiot and I packed everything, including extra batteries, but apparently just forgot my card. So I apologize. The Dame interview is in person, so we have good audio for that. I also just want to acknowledge, Tommy, this is our 150th episode together. You and I and Jason Gallagher, our wonderful head of content, producer, editor, creator, Mr. Extraordinaire. He's been with us since day one.
Everything.
Yes, and just want to acknowledge Jason for all the hard work that he does and for the amazing content that he puts out on our YouTube channel. Since day one. So 150 episodes. We're very excited. This particular episode with Dame, I know I say this sometimes, but I really mean this. Like, this is one of the best episodes we have done. There's a lot of high-level basketball talk. We're talking about his streak that he's been on this season, and particularly in the calendar year of 2023. And we talk some existential stuff about the way athletes are covered and what athletes should and shouldn't want out of their careers. He's the perfect guy to have this conversation with. He's so level-headed, mature. And when I got done with the episode, when we got done with the recording and I rushed back to get on the train to go back to Brooklyn, the word that kept popping in my head was refreshing. There's something about Dame, the way he approaches things, the way he talks, his perspective. It's all very refreshing.
Yeah, and on the court, and we get into this with him, it's amazing, what he's accomplished this year. When we had him in the bubble, this is a Hall of Fame guard at that point, and some of the numbers that he has put up this season, which we get into, are just stupid. It's wild. Everyone talks about the 71-point game, but there's one stat before we, talk about the Blazers overall that I saw today that we didn't talk about with him. Or we talked about a little bit with him that I just want to get your perspective on as a guy who's made a lot of 3-pointers in your life. Most threes made from 30 plus feet this season. Dame is 36. The next highest is Trey at 24, and there's a few guys in the low 20s. In the grand scheme of things, not that important, but it just tells you this guy. Some of the stuff he does on the court, it's sort of like him and Steph are there, and there's not really anyone else who's just putting on a show like this.
Yes. I'll reiterate something that has come up a couple times over the past few seasons, and that's the idea of a 4-point line. That guy's range is so deep, and we need to sort of account for that. There's three guys. There's 3 guys that can really shoot consistently from that far, and it's Steph, Trey, and Dame. You don't see a lot of guys coming off pick and rolls, pulling up from 30 plus feet. It's really just those 3 guys. We actually get back into, we discussed it a little bit in episode 1, but we get back into why he's able to shoot with such range. We even go into his shooting form, which I found to be fascinating. The Blazers, Tommy, they started the season very well. They were in first place, 12, 13 games in. A few injuries, including injuries to Dame. But they're looking like they won't be a playoff team, which is a real shame because I would love to see Damian Lillard in the playoffs. According to DraftKings Sportsbook, they opened at plus 195 to make the playoffs. One of the reasons is they had Jeremy Grant, Josh Hart, Shaden Sharp, the draft pick. So they kind of had a roster that you felt like around Dame could really vault them into contention for a playoff spot. And for much of the season, they've been in that 7 to 10 range, but now they're currently sitting 13th. They're 31-37. They're 4 games back of the 6th seed, and 2 games back in the loss column of the 10 seed. But given how the Lakers have been playing, OKC and Utah are not going away. It's not looking good for them. They're right now on DraftKings. They're minus 1,400 not make the playoffs. And I just, this is a team that I would like to see. I love watching Damian Lillard in the playoffs, dissecting defenses, dissecting coverages. We should also mention Anthony Simons, who has had a good season, and another young player that fits with Dame. One thing I would just make a note of, it is interesting. This is the first, because Dame was hurt last year towards the end of the season, and CJ got traded at the deadline. This is really Dame's first season playing without CJ. And I think that, based on his comments to us, I think that can account a little bit for some of his aggressiveness and some of his scoring output.
So they're, as of today, they're 8th in offense, 27th in defense, 24th in net rating. Why is this defense so bad? I don't think anyone thought this was a top 5 defense going into the season, but why are they so bad?
It's interesting because I think a lot of defenses are really bad. Like, I mean, even we talked about this way earlier in the season, but it is interesting to sort of note how defensive ratings have just completely gone through the roof relative to 5 years ago, 10 years ago, certainly 15 years ago, 16 years ago, 17 years ago when I first came into the NBA. And the spacing is really hard. I think some of it with Portland has been a little continuity issue. When you're playing young players, and they have we should mention Watford too, of course. They're playing young players. I think it's hard to figure out. I think some of it is personnel too. Look, I think the idea of Jeremy Grant, the idea of Josh Hart, like, it's great. You really have to have 5 guys at a time really committed to playing good team defense. So some of it, I think, is just personnel based. But yeah, I mean, this team to me is fun to watch because you're going to get a lot of points. They need more, and what that looks like going forward in Dame's career, his commitment and this loyalty to this franchise. They need more. And the reality is he's not getting younger, but the accumulation of skill and work and dedication to craft, you could make an argument that he's basically got 4 or 5 years left at this peak. I certainly think health plays a factor too. He was battling that injury for a long time. Let's look at the odds right now, just because we went over the standings. So to participate in the West play-in tournament, so this would be seeds 7 through 10. Right now, Portland has the 9th best odds to participate. So we've got Lakers minus 205, Timberwolves minus 200, Pelicans minus 170, Dallas minus 140. Then you've got the Warriors and Clippers, who are on the other side right now, at 6 for the Warriors, 5 for the Clippers, Thunder, Jazz, both over plus 200. And then you go down, and there's a bunch of teams that won't be in the play-in that are currently sitting 4 or under in the Western Conference. We've been fascinated by this race the whole year, and 15, 16 games to go, whatever it is, there's still hardly any separation. Phoenix is the one team that is sort of separated a little bit in that 4 through 13 spot. But this race has been super dynamic the entire season. College hoops fans, it's time to bring the action to the palm of your hand with DraftKings Sportsbook, one of America's top-rated sportsbook apps. This week, new customers can download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and sign up with code JJ. For a limited time, all customers can score a no-sweat bet during round 1 and 2 of the tournament. Go to the app, opt in, and place a no-sweat bet this weekend. If it doesn't hit, you'll get a bonus bet back up to $10. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook with code JJ. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. Tommy, before we get to Dame real quick, I just want to say one thing. We were a little crunched for time. Dame was not supposed to have practice, and I had to get back for an event back to Brooklyn. And so Dame came right from practice. He's in his practice uniform while we played. And as soon as he sat down, I said, can you do me a quick favor? The team I'm coaching, the third grade Brooklyn Basketball Academy, we had our playoffs this past weekend. Saturday and Sunday was the championship. And Dame recorded a video for our kids. And now he's got 12 kids and all their parents who are fans for life because of that. And I just wanted to update. We had a very hard-fought championship game yesterday. We were up big. They came back. They actually took the lead in regulation. Knox fouled out with about 2 minutes to go. They took the lead in regulation. We made a clutch bucket. And then my kids in overtime were just amazing. Jampa and James stepped up big time. We ended up winning by 7 points. And for Gio, who runs our program, it's the first championship for the Brooklyn Basketball Academy program. And just so proud of our kids. And Knox, by the way, he's 8 years old, hit 3 threes, like legit threes. Like
That's awesome.
It's like normal high school line. Like he hit 3 threes in the championship game.
You can tell with your voice that there was a little celebration after this.
I think it's more just the travel.
That's amazing.
I literally was all over the place all weekend. So I was going back and forth between Philly, Sag Harbor, and now out in San Francisco. Yeah, I had a nice night of sleep last night. All right, let's get to our awesome conversation with Portland Trailblazer superstar, Damian Lillard.
All right, let's welcome in Damian Lillard. Dame, thanks for doing this. Just so you know, you know this, that you were our very first guest on the Old Man of the Three episode.
Was that a first?
1.
It was in the bubble?
Episode number
Wow.
1. And this is episode 150.
Wow, so I'm 1 in 150.
So by that,
every 150,
math,
I got to come back.
On episode 300.
You know, if it had gone well, I'm not sure that we would have had a number 2.
Yeah.
Jason actually was like, I wonder if there's a way we could get Dame to lay in his bed and watch basketball on TV.
I was definitely in the
bed. You've been on a burner. Just some quick stats here. Started out the season great. You had 3 40-point games in their first 23. October, November, December, you're averaging 28. Over your last 30 in the new year, you've had 11 40-point games, a 50-point game, a 60-point game, a 70-point game. You're averaging 36 a game. What has happened? What has changed? What are you seeing on the court that's led to this run?
I would say the number one thing is we just hadn't been winning games. I think for me, I like to come out and obviously I always play aggressive, but I like to figure out what the other team is doing. I'll come off a pick and roll, see how they're guarding it, pass it ahead in transition, see where they helping from on the weak side. Just kind of like, that's how I played the first quarter. And this year I felt like we had a really good start, and I had a lot of confidence in us being better this season. And I was playing the game that way, so I wasn't coming out trying to score a bunch of points. I was just like, our roster is different. Let me see how we can win, what it'll look like if I'm just, playing a honest game. Take what they give me like that. Second game of the season against Phoenix, I just started hitting a bunch of shots. I had 40. And then the next game against the Lakers in LA, I started hitting a bunch of shots. I had 40. And then the fourth game, we played Denver at home. I had 30. We beat them too. We 4-0. The next game, I strained my calf. So then I come back from that and I'm like, I'm not going to come out here and try to force nothing. So I was chilling, just playing the game. And I strained my calf again, a week later. So then it was like, all right, I got to chill. I'm just going to take my time. I come back. And then it was like everybody else started getting hurt. Nurk gets hurt. And then, Ant started dealing with some stuff. Justice got hurt in December. Josh was dealing with, it was just a lot of stuff started coming up and we just weren't winning games. And, dealing with the injuries, I was like, I got to be more aggressive. I got to put more pressure on these teams because at first it's like, it's early. It's a long season. And then you get to that point where it's like, all right, it's going to be the All-Star break. Like, this happens fast. So for me, I just basically just hit the gas. Like, I'm going to be a lot more aggressive. I'm going to play the way I play. I'm going to make the right plays, but I'm going to be more aggressive. And then when I started being more aggressive, that's just what it turned into. And it was like typically I would, I've had runs in the past, but I would always go out of my way to try to prove that, like, I'm not trying to, be on a run and do all this stuff. So I would intentionally almost like pull it back, you know what I'm saying? And it would end, But this time I'm just like, we need to win as many games as possible. Like, we don't have the health. We're really young, so we don't have the luxury of me pulling it back. Like, it makes perfect sense for me to play this way. So, I mean, it's really just been mental of me just like sustaining it. I just been continuing to push it forward.
I was just going to add on, out of necessity, I just want to make one observation. I'll let you jump in here, Tommy. I just realized this is the first time that we've had a player in his practice uniform on our podcast. This is great.
Yeah, bro. We had practice today. We got smoked last night in Boston, so they was like, you know how that go. Practice tomorrow. Like, all right.
There was a stat bouncing around a couple of days ago. It is most 40-point games in a season by a player 32 plus. You've 13, MJ at 12. When there are things like this, obviously it's happening to you in real time, and you've done so many sort of crazy things over the course of your career. But like, do you have perspective in the moment? Do you ever wake up and be like, oh, I'm really on one, for the last 2 months, like I'm on a burner like this?
I mean, I know that I've been killing, but I don't have perspective like that. Like, I just did an interview before this, and I was literally saying that, like, that's one of my worst traits is, like, I don't realize what's happening when it's happening. And then, like, 2 years go by, and I'll be like, I made the top 75 team. That's crazy. And my brother would be looking at me like, are you serious right now? But that literally happens, like, I remember a couple years ago, I looked at one of my best friends, and I was like, I'm really in the NBA. Like, have you thought about that? And he just stared at me like, but that's how much time passes before I'm like, damn, like, that's crazy. So, like, right now, I play a game and then I go look at the standings and I'm like hoping Dallas lost and hoping New Orleans lost. Like, I just kind of move on too fast.
I believe that's called living in the moment.
Yeah.
And that's probably a good way to live. When we had you on for episode 1, we talked with you about drop coverage and your just ability to shoot 3-pointers against drop coverage. I think I made the point. I don't understand why anybody would ever play drop coverage against you or Steph or certain guys. And during this specific run over these last 30 games, you're seeing, like, the Houston game when you had 71, they blitzed you a little bit. They had Şengün in a drop. They switched with Jabari Smith. They didn't really trap you a ton till the end. And the Jazz game, the 60-point game, they had Kessler in a drop at times. They switched Markkanen on you at times. Like, as you're sort of in this mindset of aggression, how are you in real time sort of toggling through and making these reads against these coverages?
I would say, like, for example, against Houston, I was in the pick and roll with the very first play of the game, and it was Jabari Smith, and they didn't switch it. He just came up real aggressive. And, he jumped at the level of the screen. He was reaching for the ball, and I was like, okay, they're going to be real aggressive. So I gotta position myself further away so where there's more space. So even if he does do that, I got space to get around him. And it's not like I'm at the 3-point line. So when I'm fighting around him, I'm going right into the next shrinking defender. So basically I just played from higher up the floor, and they kept doing it. And I was just like turning the corner, like, this whole time, like, it hasn't just been a bunch of threes. A couple games I hit a bunch of threes, but I've been in the paint, like a bunch of twos, bunch of free throws. But it's just like, okay, they're going to be aggressive. I just play from out higher. And then I start to pick who I want to be in the pick and roll.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just start to manipulate them. They'll try to be aggressive, and I'll just come off a pick and roll real hard, knowing they're going to chase me, and I'll just shoot regular. I won't even jump into them. I'll just stop and shoot on the dime, then run into me. And then they won't want to come over as hard. So then now I'll let them put their hand out, and I'll act like I'm a sweep through for free throws, and they put their hands up, and I go around them. Like, it's It's really just, they're trying so hard that the moment that you take advantage of what they're being told, they just lose a little bit of confidence in it, and then you just start to manipulate them.
Part of this is the advantage of being able to shoot from 35 feet off the dribble.
That's
part of that,
because
because you talk about being able to step back and make everybody play higher. Well, for most guys at 35 feet, you're just going to go under. And
right.
You can't really do that against you. And you've always been good, by the way, not just this year. You've always been good when you have that space to attack traps and blitzes of getting around that big. The other one that you do a lot, and I know because I've had to guard you at times, is when you are getting a ball screen and the guy guarding you sort of shifts his stance. And if you know that the big is not going to be in a drop, you'll just go attack that angle
before the screen
gets there. Where did you learn that? Was that a natural thing? Did somebody teach you that? Because I feel like you've had that a long time.
I started doing that in college. And it's funny because in college, I played in the Big Sky. So like, even if I came off the screen, they really didn't have a chance. But like, it got to the point where, like I said, I was leading the country in scoring. So people were trying, especially in that league, they were trying so hard that I was just like, I don't want to go fight against that. I don't want to go this way and, be playing against this defender. So I would just, because the defender is going to assume you're going off the screen. The big has to be at the level on that side. So I would just go right before. I started doing it in college. And the NBA is like, it's even easier in the NBA.
More space.
Yeah, it's more space. Yeah, like it's easier.
In the Houston game, at what point were you like, this is going to be a special night?
I knew I was going to have a big game on my 8th point. I didn't know it was going to be 70. I didn't know it was going to be 70.
Sick for that. You're sick.
But I knew it was because I got a layup and then I came off a screen. They switched it with Jabari Smith. I hit a step back 3 right. And then my third 3-pointer, I was going to come off a 77, but they switched it and he jumped into the screen. Like he just backed into the screener and it was just like a big space. And I kind of like did like this, like I was going to come off and I just rose up and it was all net. Like as soon as I let it go, I was like, that's a swish. Like as soon as I let it go. And after that, I was like, I'm probably going to score 50 points tonight.
77 is your double drag, I assume?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
99, 77.
Yeah. The difference between scoring 40 in a game, I only had 140 point game in my career. It was very hard for me to do. I didn't have your volume or touches, man. The difference between scoring 40 in a game versus scoring 50 versus scoring 60 versus scoring 70, the incremental difficulty, like where does it sort of reach a tipping point?
It gets, I would say like, it's levels. So like when you're killing a team and it's a game, it gets harder when they just sell out, when they like, all right, we'll give up wide open shots before we let this keep going. Like that's when it gets hard because if you have, like I've had games where I'm at like 38 and they'll be like, we coming to get them. Like I'll get across half court, they'll run a guy at me and just make me pass the ball. Then they'll deny me and they'll live with what happens after that. And then when it works, like when we're not scoring and then they start scoring, that's when it starts to get hard because it's like, I got to keep trusting it, but I'm not about to keep letting y'all off the hook. So I would say that's where it like starts to get a little harder. And then where it gets harder than that is when it's still a game, but it's like the pride kicked in where they like, just go. Like he just can't score. He's not going to break a record on us. Like when it gets to that point, that's when it's like, all right, now it's like, this one is getting hard.
Do you ever turn yourself off?
Like
what you were talking about earlier, the pulling back, even on bigger nights. Because I know you said you'll go into a game intentionally. I know I'm on a run. I know I'm on a hot streak. I got to get my other guys going. Yeah. This year, sometimes it's been out of necessity. You've had to be uber aggressive at all times. But within a game where you've got 38 or you've got 44, do you ever turn yourself off or you say, no, I got to get to the next 10-point increment?
No, I definitely turn myself off in spots. And I think that's, in a weird way, why I've been able to stay on the run. Because even though I've been super aggressive, like I show so many times that I'll get rid of it. Like the game where I had 70 against Houston, I think I had 40 at halftime. And I didn't shoot the ball until it was like 7 minutes left in the third quarter. Like the first possession of the third quarter, I dribbled the ball up. And when I saw the guy guarding one of our wings, he was running to run the first play, and he stopped at the top of the key. And he was like timing it. He was like trying to let me get over half court, like, and then run over there. And I was just looking at him like, if this dude run at me right now to start the quarter like this, like they not gonna let nothing else happen. And he took off and ran over there. And I just kept dribbling. He came over and I just skipped it.
Ready for the underdogs, the upsets, and the unbelievable action from DraftKings Sportsbook? The biggest tournament in college basketball is here. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 on college hoops and get $200 in bonus bets instantly.
Plus, for a limited time, all customers can score a no-sweat bet during round 1 and 2 of the tournament. Go to the app, opt in, and place a no-sweat bet this weekend. If it doesn't hit, you'll get a bonus bet back up to $10.
I'll obviously be watching for Duke as they make a tournament run. The other team I'm going to have my eye on is the Northwestern Wildcats. Shout out to Chris Collins' second tournament appearance in school history, both with him at the helm, and rightfully won the Big Ten Coach of the Year. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and sign up with code JJ. New customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets instantly, win or lose. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook with code JJ. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. Love the convenience of getting what you want right to your door? With DoorDash grocery delivery, you can stock up for the week or order last-minute cravings conveniently. You've trusted DoorDash to deliver your restaurant favorites, and now you can get your grocery delivery that actually delivers too. With thousands of grocery stores to choose from, you'll find the best in your neighborhood and boost your local economy with each and every order.
You'll get exactly what you ordered, or we'll make it right. So sit back and enjoy quality groceries just like you picked them yourself. Want even more value? You can save on all your grocery and restaurant favorites with a $0 delivery fee on all eligible orders with a Dash Pass membership. With easy substitutions right in the app and best-in-class customer support, DoorDash delivers groceries exactly how you want it.
Get 50% off your first DoorDash order up to a $20 value when you use code JJ23 at checkout. Limited time offer, terms apply. That's 50% off up to $20, no minimum subtotal, and $0 delivery fees on your first order when you download the DoorDash app in the App Store and enter code JJ23. Don't forget, that's code JJ23 for 50% off your first order with DoorDash.
Part of the online discourse in the following days after you had 71, of course, Donovan had 71 in a overtime game earlier in the season. Part of the discourse was around, will we ever see a 100-point game again in the NBA? Do you think it's possible?
I'm not sure we actually will, but it's definitely possible. Like, I was on the fence about it until that game because I had 71 in regulation. If that would have been a double overtime game, or like I was 13 for 24 from 3, and I had like 6 like rattle in and out.
You missed some ones I thought you should have made.
I did. Like, really though. Like I could have made 6 more threes. That's 18 points. That's 18 points. I had 3 layups that got blocked at the rim. Like, and they got blocked just because of like my timing. Like, I didn't think he was going to actually try to block it, and he went up there and got it. So like, that's 3 layups. I had like a couple shots at the end of the game where like I was just tired, and I was just like, I kind of shot him lazy. I didn't shoot a full shot where I'm like, after the game, everybody was like, oh my God, you had 71 points. And I was like, I really should have had like 90 tonight. And I really meant it, because when I started thinking about some of the plays, I'm like, I should have had 90. And
right, everybody's congratulating you for essentially pitching a perfect game, and you're like, nah, I didn't pitch a perfect game.
I mean, I ain't gonna say that, but I was just thinking like, I don't know if I'm gonna ever score 70 again. So like, when you really think about it, it's like, I really could have had 90. When the time came, I could have had 90 if these shots went in. So it was like, that's what I was thinking about. And then when I really thought about it, I was like, Steph Curry could definitely score 100 points.
Yeah.
I could score 100.
Who else do you think could get 100
At this
league
point
right
right now?
Yeah.
I think there's 3 guys. So again, assuming no blitzes and the same, essentially like the same look, right? The same look every time.
Which is not going to happen.
Which drop coverage or after a switch, ISO, no double.
Right.
I think it's Dame. I think it's Steph, and I think it's Luka. I think it has to be a guard.
Yeah.
I think it has to be a guard. My last question about the coverage piece, because I meant to mention this earlier. Last night, your first bucket, you and Nurkic were trying to run like a little flip, and he ended up throwing it back to you, and you eventually got to a pick and roll. And Al's in drop, and Marcus Smart goes underneath the screen.
Yeah.
Are you ever shocked when that happens? Does it ever catch you off guard to where you're not ready to shoot?
No, because the moment I catch the ball, I'm always ready to shoot the ball. Like even when I put the ball on the floor, I'm always ready to pick it up and shoot. I'm never dribbling the ball in a way where I'm like, I'm gonna miss a moment. And I train that way. Like when I'm training, like sometimes when I'm in my workouts, my trainer will be like, all right, just dip. And I got to sit there, and then he'll be like, go. And I got to just raise and shoot. And then sometimes I'll be coming off pick and roll, and he'll be like, just kind of play with some rhythm. And I'll just be like this, and he'll be like, shoot it. So it made me naturally in the game, I just play like I'm always shoot. So when people go under, I just be like right into my shot. Like I'm never surprised by it because I'm always waiting for that little space to get a shot off. You know what I mean?
Do you feel like you have a specific distance number where your range starts?
Like what? Do you mean?
Like like a field goal kicker, it's like I can do 55, I can do 58, I can do whatever. Like where you're like, if I have the ball at this point, I feel comfortable taking the shot all the time.
I would say like once I get across half court. Obviously, that's just not a good shot to constantly just be taken.
Yeah.
Like no matter how great you think you shoot. But like we had a game against Milwaukee. I picked up my dribble because I was trying to like run a delay action. And Drew just like backed up to take away the pass to the big. And I was like, and I just shot it. You know what I mean? I was like a step past half court, but I wouldn't do that 5 times in a game, you know?
Yeah, it's not high percentage.
Yeah, but I mean, there's times in the game where I'm like, if I come across here and there's nobody there, I will shoot it.
When we asked you about your range 149 episodes ago, you talked a little bit about your lower body.
Yeah.
And the work you do on your glutes and hamstrings and all that, like, and your core.
Yeah.
And like, that's sort of where your power come from. I have hypothesized that some of it comes from the fact that you shoot with your palm.
Yeah.
Do you think there's some truth to that?
I don't really think so. I mean, I think everything plays a part, but I think the way that I train is definitely a big part of it. And I think my shooting motion, like I keep going back to my training because I think that's what it all comes down to for me. But learning, like I always could shoot, but learning to shoot in one motion and have a full shot where I dip, like my momentum from the dribble to the dip is all one motion and it's all going into one full shot. I think that with the strength and all those other things is what makes it an easy shot for me.
There was a video circulating after the 3-point contest at All-Star. Did you see this video?
Yeah, where my fingers was off the ball.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. Is that normal? That's how
I've always
if we all broke it down. Do you feel that? Like when you learned how to shoot, you were not conscious of that?
The weird thing is when I learned how to shoot, I didn't shoot that way. But when I was like 10 years old, my dad used to get on my ass about like, you got to shoot off your fingertips. Like you shooting a knuckleball. Because my dad shoots like, he's the only other person I've ever seen shoot like that. Like when he shoots, the ball is like off it, but he do it worse than me. It's almost like he's like literally flicking the ball.
Yeah.
But he like, we was at the park one day and he was just like, you got to shoot off your fingertips. That ball ain't got no rotation. And I'm like, how do you shoot like that? So he was like, look, it got to come off your fingertips. So I started shooting the ball. Like, that's how I could
Briefly
get rotation
taking
on the ball.
fingertips
Yeah.
off and then just like the flick.
Yeah, I would just like roll it off like that. And then once I started really working at it and shooting, and once you get a certain amount of reps, like I don't even feel it no more.
Yeah. I want to ask you about some things that have changed in the NBA, because I feel like you have a unique perspective on that. I obviously came in at
an interesting time.
I came in
right there at the perfect time.
I came in 06 and you were 12.
12, yeah.
And then you've obviously played 2 years now since I retired. So you have a different perspective than I do. The first thing is sort of the 3-point revolution.
Yeah.
Because, people talk about the Phoenix Suns and like my Orlando Magic teams, but really it was like you, Steph, and James that changed this whole paradigm. And I looked it up. You averaged 6.1 threes per year your rookie year, which was a fucking lot.
That's a lot.
You're at 11.3 threes per game this year attempted. You've had 3 years shooting 10 or more. Last year, I think you were just under 10 before you got hurt. When did you feel like that was acceptable to shoot an average 10 threes a game? What sort of changed in this time period?
I would say probably about 3-4 years ago. That's when I started to be like, okay, you can't win if you're not shooting threes, because everybody's shooting threes, and if they're making threes and you're constantly making twos, like you're not going to, it's easy math. You know what I'm saying? Like, I remember coming in and seeing, like, I forget who we was playing against a couple years ago, and they shooting 35 threes every game. It was the Rockets, I think.
It was the Rockets.
Or 40 threes, maybe. They was like, they don't shoot mid-range. They going to get to the rim or they going to shoot threes. And I remember we played them one game, and I was like, we stand in front of them. Like, and James is shooting step backs. He get, pick and roll. Trevor Ariza, Eric Gordon, PJ Tucker. He's just kicking it out. They're literally not shooting anything but lobs to Capella, transition at the rim, or just threes. And for us, we me and CJ coming off pick and roll, step back mid-range,
float game.
Floaters, pocket pass, layups, getting fouled, going to the line. But I'm looking up there and I'm like, how are we down by 17? This don't feel like a bad game, but they just, when you really think about it, it's like they forcing people's hands. So now the bigs are wanting to be able to shoot now to stay on the floor. So everybody's shooting more threes. You can't win without doing it.
I had the literal exact same experience my last year with the Clippers, where we're playing a game against the Rockets and we're down 11 in the third quarter. And we go down and we score on like 3 or 4 possessions or 4 or 5 possessions, like CP on the left block doing his little jab game to a mid-range. Blake shooting a mid-range shot. And Rockets are scoring as well, but they're scoring threes. And all of a sudden I looked up and it was like, we're scoring. We're just down 11. How the fuck are we down 16 now?
Yeah.
And Joe Mazzulla this weekend, man, like, credit to him, because he's really emphasized this with this year's Boston Celtics team. I mean, you look at the numbers, they're threes per game, makes per game, assist percentage, all up. It's like good to great, good to great, good to great.
They're like top of the league and attempts and makes, second in attempts and makes.
Yeah. And he was talking, I had their Friday game against Brooklyn, I had their Sunday game against the Knicks, and he said on Friday, he's like, we got outmathed. We got outmathed that game. And
that's crazy.
I get the gripe that some older basketball fans have with this era, but you're not going to win by playing the old way.
Can't win that way.
It's a math equation, and you're not going to win.
You can play that way, but everybody's going to beat you. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you may not like it, but if you're going to play or coach in this league, you got to play by those rules or you can't win. So that's it.
What else has changed for you? What is sort of your perspective on where we're at right now and sort of what the differences are from when you first came in?
I mean, I would say the biggest difference is, how do I put it?
Say it.
I'm going to say it. No, that ain't the problem. I would say, what's the word I'm looking for? When I came in the league, I put it like this. When I came in the league, like Jason Kidd was starting for the Knicks. And Grant Hill and Kurt Thomas and Kenyon Martin, it was like real older dudes in the league. I played with Jared Jeffries. He was 40 or 41 or something. Earl Watson was 40 when I played with him. I played with like real vets, and it was a lot of stuff that I learned like about being a point guard or, you know, how to lead from Mo Williams and Earl Watson and Jared Jeffries. And they didn't even play, you know what I'm saying? Like it was just the way that they showed me how stuff had to be done. I had no choice but to respect the game. You know, I didn't have, the word I was looking for is entitlement. Like when I came in the league, you had to earn not just what you get from the team or like the respect. You had to earn your space on the team. You know, it was no, oh, you the 6th pick of the draft. It's your team. Like, what is this your team stuff? You know what I'm saying? Like, and I think now the biggest difference is you don't have that veteran presence. So you got players who are more talented than ever coming into the league. They're getting picked, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're making more money than those picks ever made. So not only that, now you're giving them the keys to the franchise. There, you know, there's nobody there to really let them know, like, you super talented, but like you got to earn stuff around here. You know what I mean? You got to earn your way. So they come in and everything is just given to them from the beginning. So that affects how they are, the way they play. Like, they play for themselves. They play for stats. They, you know, think that they're LeBron James when they make an all-star game, or, you know what I'm saying? They get a max contract. It's just different. I don't know how to completely put it together, but the NBA I play in now is not the NBA that I came into. And I expect it to evolve. Everything is constantly changing. But like, I feel like I play for the love of the game. Like, I want the competition. I want to know what it feels like to win. I want to see my teammates do well. I want to see my teammates get paid. You know, like, I enjoy the bonding part of it. Like, we spend more time with each other than anybody. But now it's like, that don't count. Regular season don't count. Get a ring. You know what I'm saying? Like, this guy's the MVP. This guy did this. He the first. It's like, bro, what is this stuff? Like, what is this? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to make it about my situation, but I was talking after a game like a week ago, and I was just like, they was asking me about Dame, but like, to win a ring. And I'm like, bro, I don't need to prove to y'all that I want to win a ring. Why the hell do I play? Like, I don't need to prove that to y'all, but we cannot keep acting like, while I understand we play to win championships, we all want to win a championship, we can't keep acting like nothing matters. Like, the rest of the stuff, the journey doesn't matter. We can't keep doing that. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like there's so many ways that the league is different. There's so many ways, and I think about it all the time where I'm like, man, I don't know if I can just play a long, long time, because I don't enjoy what the NBA as a whole is becoming.
All right. I think you make some great points, and there's a couple things that I sort of want to unpack there. Yeah. So you're talking about two things here.
Yeah.
It's the culture within the NBA, and then there's the culture around the NBA and the discourse around the NBA. I actually want to go back in a second to the culture within the NBA, and your guy Nate, who we talked about recently on the podcast. I think his commentary on this on Twitter has been spot on. But since you brought it up, you've been asked a million times about not leaving, but I wanted to make an observation. And this is what I think gets lost a little bit in this discourse around ring culture and around players' careers and the decisions they make within their careers. Yeah. To me, it's what you want, what I want out of my career versus what other people want for you.
Right.
And regardless of what you decide to do, by the way, you're going to be criticized for it. I can give you multiple examples off the top of my head where someone couldn't win a ring and they go team up with another superstar, and when they win it, it gets discredited. So the discourse
Or they
around
go
this,
and don't win it,
yeah,
and now they look crazy.
Yeah.
that also.
And now they talk worse.
You've had some quotes about that as well, and I always look. I think every time you've ever been asked about this, your thoughts around it are very insightful. They're very thoughtful, and I've always respected them.
Yeah.
And the part about the journey is so huge. The thing for me has always been, and Jason and I talked about this yesterday, the thing for me has always been how poised and how calm and how seemingly unbothered you are by all the noise. How do you maintain a level of sanity within this discourse?
Because I have a real life. Like, I think that's the best way to put it. Like, I don't live my life as Damian Lillard. Like, I go home, I play with my kids. Like, I play with my kids. I go to my mom's house. I hang out with my cousins. You know what I mean? Like, I have a life. I talk to my grandmother on the phone, and, you know, my uncle calls me and we talk on the phone all night about just regular stuff. You know what I'm saying? So, like, I have a life that's stable and is not based upon who I am as an NBA player. Like, I have real friends, you know, like my best friend comes to Portland and he works a job where, like, he can work from home, and he'll come stay with me for, you know, he's single, and he'll come stay for a few weeks. He'll book a one-way and we have a real friendship. So, like, I don't sit here and just think about I need to leave all the time. And I'm not sitting there watching TV and hearing everything they got to say, like, oh, I probably should do this, or I probably should do that. I'm like, when my career is over, y'all are not about to be talking about me. Y'all going to be talking about Luka Doncic, Ja Morant, and Jason Tatum, or whoever when I'm done playing. You know, they'll talk about me when they say, who had the most 40-point games or 50-point games or Portland, whatever. But, like, why am I going to be sitting here overly concerned with everything that every person has to say about me when they don't know my life? Like, they don't think about me when they get off of that camera, you know? Like, and when I'm done playing, they won't think about me. Like, they don't think about you.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
No, they think about me in other ways, but yeah.
I'm just saying, they don't think about you. They don't think about Michael Jordan.
So
why they going to be thinking about me? So why would I be concerned with it?
So there was a New York Times article, Kirk Streeter wrote it in January, and there was this little anecdote in there. It was a quote from a Portland Trailblazers Facebook fan page. And the quote was, Lillard needs to go for his career to have any chance before it's too late.
For my career to have any chance?
So there's a lot in that quote. But I've seen versions of that quote on Twitter, in articles, on Instagram, whatever. And I guess it begs the question, how do you measure a successful career? Because when I retired, and it still bothers me to a degree, when I retired without a ring, which in a team sport, that's what you play
the
for. Ultimate. That's what we're playing for. Yeah. I had to grapple with it. This is something that my therapist and I spent a lot of time on it.
Right.
And I kind of reframed the idea of success. Like, what is a successful NBA career? Yeah. And it's like, did I personally maximize my ability?
Yeah.
I think I did. Did I have great relationships? Yeah, I did. Did I get to compete? We all love competition. Did I get to compete at the highest level? Yeah, I did. So, yeah, I didn't have a ring, but I feel like I had a successful career. What is a successful career to you? What is your definition of that?
I would say all the things that you just said. Like, I maximized my ability. You know, everything that I had, I maximized it. You know, from not being recruited to going to a small school to getting picked and people saying, you know, why would they pick him from Weber State? He hadn't played against no competition, to everything I've accomplished on the court, everything that I've accomplished financially, everything I've done off the court as far as endorsements. You know, I feel like I've maximized everything. The friendships, the competition, all of those. I feel like I've maximized all of those things. So I feel like, to me, all of those things represent success. And like you said, winning the ring is like the ultimate level of success. And I always think about it, like how you said, like, you wrestle with that. Like, I always think about it like, man, but like, I really do want to win. And I don't think I would go crazy if I didn't, but like, I really want to win a ring. And the thing that I always come back to is, I feel like I've checked the box on, everything that makes me feel like if I was done today, I've had a successful career. Because
fulfilled. You'd be fulfilled. Yeah.
I'll be fulfilled because I haven't taken any shortcuts. I haven't done anything that I think about. And I'm like, man, like I should have did this, or I wish this didn't happen, or that. It's like, I didn't took the scenic route every time. Like, I have not done any shortcuts, anything weird. I haven't crossed nobody, nothing. So like, to me, I'd be fulfilled. And the reason why I feel that way is because I think there's a lot of people that have won championships in a time where it wasn't the way it is now. Like, and the people that have won now have always been it's been like an era of where multiple stars on the same team. And every time I speak on it, people are like, Dame hates super team and run from the grind and all this stuff. And I'm just like, bro, these are grown men. They can do what they want to do. I only control me. So like, I'm just saying, in this era, it's only become more difficult to win because of the rules that we play by. It's like, you should go play with this guy, and you should go play with this guy and that guy. And it's like, all right, well, who do you think is going to dominate winning? What do you think is going to happen? You know what I'm saying? Every once in a while, you'll get a Dallas creep in there and win one.
Dirk, yeah.
And then like Giannis will go in there and win. But like, if you look at that Bucks team, that ain't no like, they had squad. You know what I mean? Dallas, they even had squad. It just wasn't like a high maintenance type of squad. It was like good players, tough vets, wanted to win, had a good enough player. But like, I feel like everything I've done represents success. And as long as I'm able to just keep pushing that forward and stand on that, then I've had a successful career. And obviously, if we win it, or if I win it, that would be the ultimate like cherry on top. Mm-hmm. But I don't think that's what means success,
With HelloFresh, you get farm-fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. Skip trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. That's why it's America's #1 meal kit.
HelloFresh makes it easy to eat what you love. Customize select meals by swapping proteins or sides, or even adding protein to a veggie dish. And now, you can even upgrade for organic chicken or organic ground beef on select meals. With HelloFresh, you're getting seasonal ingredients picked at peak ripeness for quality you can taste. Ingredients travel from the farm to your home in less than 7 days, so you know they're fresh.
Look, I'm very busy between media obligations, being a dad, coaching Knox. HelloFresh saves me a lot of time. The ingredients, the recipes are super easy to follow and take 30 minutes or less. Go to HelloFresh.com/JJ60 and use code JJ60 for 60% off plus free shipping. That's HelloFresh.com/JJ60 with the promo code JJ60 for 60% off plus free shipping. HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit.
Do you feel like in retrospect, because you didn't have a lot of noise in high school and in college, that it prepared you for this better than some of these guys who have it when they're 15?
No, I think that's definitely something that is in my favor, that doesn't get talked about. I didn't have to deal with, people trying to, like these kids got managers and handlers and all these things. The hype, people handing them stuff and they're getting free shoes and cars and people taking care of them because they want something on the back end and stuff like that. I didn't deal with that. So I didn't get influenced in no way, how some kids have and might get influenced. So I think that is in my favor, and it helped that I went to school, when I got to school, I was coming off the bench, you know what I mean? Like, we doing conditioning tests and they just like was on my ass at Weber. Like, I go to class coach waiting outside my class, making sure I'm not late, like couldn't miss a single class. It was like stuff like that made me as disciplined as I am now, you know? So I definitely think that experience plays in my favor, but also like when I think about like my parents, like my dad would have never went for no agent with me and a handler and all of this stuff that's happening now. Like AAU coaches being like out front for these kids. Like my dad was telling me when I entered the draft, like if an agent called you, they need to call me. Like if somebody reach out to you, like during my season, my last year in school, it was like, if an agent reach out to you, give them my number. They shouldn't be calling you. Like my dad, like by the book, he don't play none of the weird shit. Like none of the, I don't care how stuff goes, like we not participating. So like, I think it was in my favor, but I don't think it would have ever been an option even if I was like a top player or something, because my parents just wasn't going for shit. Like to this day, they not going.
Yeah.
Like
It is interesting. As you asked that question, he's talking about this. I'm like thinking back to like all of the in-person podcasts that we have done. And sometimes, you know, like today we meet a player where his team is staying. You know, we buy a room, spend our money, you know, all that
it's expensive
stuff.
room,
For a lot of
man.
money.
And like sometimes like there'll be, I remember one time we did it with Joe Ingles and they had the Jazz digital media staff there. Like, I'm not talking about that, but when I think about the interviews we've done with the least amount of people in the room, like there's nobody in the room right now.
Yeah.
It's just Dame. Steph was one. Steph,
Yep.
his bodyguard. You know, like, I get it. Steph had one person in the room. And then other times we've had
20.
9.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Could you imagine? I mean, we've done one with a young guy where there's 9 people in the room sitting right there, all standing right there. Listen. And it's just interesting to me. And I don't think there's anything wrong. I don't actually think there's anything wrong with that. I don't. The cultural shift of players coming in now. You guys have both touched on this. Austin Rivers talked about this, the mixtapes at a young age. You said entitlement. I don't think that's far off. I think it can be harsh if you generalize that about an entire group of players, but certainly I've had younger teammates as I finished up that I saw a little of that sense of entitlement.
It's common, bro.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, and this is an example I'll give you. We lose last night, you know what I'm saying? And it's like we lose. Obviously, you come back the next day, you don't want to come out and be like, okay, we're going to have practice. You know what I'm saying? Like, but we not, you know, on our team, it's almost like we got practice tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? And this is not me knocking my teammates, because we had a really like a hard, real practice. You know what I'm saying? But like our team is like, they're on a team with me. So we talk about this stuff. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, look, this the way it is, you know, like this the way it goes sometimes. And they'll accept it. But when you don't have somebody on your team that's letting you know how it should be, and they respect you enough because they see your real behavior, just imagine like what's really happening. There's so many teams out there that don't have it. You know what I'm saying? So they're probably really getting up like, why are we doing this? You know what I'm saying? Like, why would we be practicing? You know, I've seen interviews from young players where they'll ask, and it's like, what if you guys had, you know, practice the day after a back-to-back? And I've literally seen interviews where they're like, I ain't going. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not going. And I was thinking about it, and I was like, if we had a back-to-back, you never have practice the day after after a back-to-back. That's hard. I don't think that's ever happened. But if it did happen, yeah, you say a time, I would just be like, all right, like, obviously we probably not come in here and start scrimmaging, but like, I'll be there. You know what I'm saying? So like to have that type of mentality, that's like an example of what the mentality is. It's just like.
But this is where I say and Nate has touched on this in regards to load management. It's not necessarily that part of it to me is not necessarily just on the players because they entered the NBA at a time when there were cultural shifts around practice. Like we had knee pads and taped ankles for an hour and a half shoot-arounds for 5 years with Stan Van Gundy. So that's what I came into the NBA with. These guys are not getting that same experience, and so they're not experiencing it well. To me, this is maybe I'm an old man, but to me, the bigger issue is I'm not quite. This is not a generalization on an entire group of young players. It's not. I think the bigger issue becomes something you kind of touched on when you talked about your love of the game. The bigger issue becomes, do you love basketball more, or do you love the things that basketball gives you more? And that's where I think we run into problems when players are on that fall into that second slot, where they love what basketball gives them, and they're entering the culture they're in right now. Right. We don't have the vets. There's a de-emphasis on vets, and the organizations have shifted a little bit of accountability. That's where we start running into problems. That, to me, is the issue.
No, I agree. And that's why I'm always like, I always talk about the people I came into the league and played with, because I know that is needed. You know, you need vets in the locker room. You know, it's not by mistake Udonis Haslem is in Miami and he never plays. Like, I don't think he's played like seriously in like 3 years. You know what I'm saying? Like,
he's got into a game here and there.
You know what I'm saying? Like, but it's known though. Yeah. You know, it's known like he got a presence with these dudes. Like, what he say means something, and he knows what to say, and he knows what they need to know. So like, I feel like it should be somebody like that, or maybe 2 players like that in every locker room, because like you said, like they didn't come into a culture where like they was learning to move on the same principle. So they just won't know. So I feel like it's just necessary.
I wanted to ask
for the sake of the league, though, just so the league doesn't just start to, you know, just look too much like entertainment. Like you want it to be like about the game, and like for people to watch it and be like, man, them dudes care. You know what I'm saying? Like they fighting for it. Like I think about, what was it, the finals in 2010, Boston and LA, where it was like, it's really them against them. Like, it felt like it was just them against them and everybody else was watching. It didn't look like, oh, he's had a triple-double in every game in the finals. And when this guy does this is what it, like, it's like, bro, just let him, just play. Like, this team against that team. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's going away from being that simple. You know what I'm saying? It feels much more like entertainment and politics than like the game.
I want to ask about 2 specific shots in retrospect, the OKC game winner and the Rockets game winner earlier in your career. Looking back now, you've had a million, you know, crazy moments since then. But what did, like, at the time, what were you thinking? What do they mean to you, sort of in retrospect? You know, everything sort of about them.
When I think about the Rockets one, it's like, when I think about it, I just think about like, how was I not worried? Like we were. How was I not worried? It was game 6. If we lost, we were going to Houston for game 7. We weren't going to win game 7 in Houston. We were down 1. It's like 0.9 left. And I'm walking on the court. And the play was like for us to all basically run like we wanted the ball, but then they was going to spin, lob to LA to try to get a tip in on Dwight Howard. Probably wasn't going to work. So we walking on the court and Mo Williams is like, I don't give a damn. Run to the ball. Like, that's what Mo is telling me as we walking on the court. You go get the ball. You got however many game winners, go get the ball. And I'm just walking, and I remember thinking, like, should I just flash to the ball? So by the time I get to my spot, I'm just looking at Batum, and the referee's holding the ball, and I'm just waiting for him to hand the ball, and I'm just like, I'm just going to sprint. I'm just going to sprint to the ball. He throw it. But then Patrick Beverly and Chandler Parsons was like, you want to switch it? No, you stay. You, like, they was talking about what they was going to do. And he handed on the ball. I just took off, just ran to the ball. I was like, He threw it to me, and then I made it. But when I think about it, I'm like, how was I not worried? Like, it was like major consequences. Like, we was going home for sure. Like, we weren't going to win in Houston. Like, but that's what I think of with that one. And in the Oklahoma City one, it was like, at that point, I feel like it was a tied game. It was like we're going to overtime if I missed. I really wasn't worried that time. So I don't know. I feel like that was the louder one. People talk about that one all the time because it was deep, but it was really no consequences. So I don't think the same of that one as I think of the Houston one. And I was younger.
Yeah, I didn't want to say it, but the body position that Chandler Parsons had, it was not great. It was not great.
Well, they talk about the OKC one because of your face, because of the memes.
Yeah. And there was a lot of shit talking in that series.
Yeah.
Dave, this has been awesome. The one thing I want to leave the audience with, and I want to tell you, is I think what fans, and I consider myself a basketball fan, what we want from our athletes, what we want in sport, and what we want in competition is like a psychotic level of obsession with craft and work and competition. And you have all of that.
Yeah.
And I respect that. But why I respect you more is because you have all of that and you have peace.
Yeah.
And dude, I got to be honest with you, it's rare.
Yeah.
So much love, man.
Appreciate that, bro. Appreciate it.